Welcome back to Red Pan of Destiny, here for another episode of Show of the Year. We're, of course, starting 2018 today. Same as 2017, we are doing American Vandal, of course, on Season 2, which, for American Vandal, is a bit weird because it is no longer about a vandal. Actually, I'm not really sure how to describe this crime. I guess it's kind of my first terrorist attack, really. It still has the ridiculousness of the dicks on cars thing, but it's a little more insidious, I suppose. It's definitely worse. So season 2 takes us to a private Catholic school, I believe, which gives us a bit of a change of pace from the first season, which was at, your just average American high school that just happens to be on a seaside town. Not all of us grew up on the seaside, but whatever. But the crime in question is essentially a mass poisoning with laxatives, basically giving the whole school diarrhea, which means the bathrooms could not handle it because it was sudden and it was all at the same time. And the laxative is traced to the school lemonade, which, for some reason, a huge majority of the school drinks, which is a bit weird. It seems like the numbers are overly inflated, but maybe people like lemonade there. I don't know. But it's great the way they start the show, and it's like people that's telling them of that fateful day and all that stuff, and it's just the way they take it so seriously, and it's such a ridiculous situation. And no, it's not a nice situation, but it's just ridiculous, and the way they take it so seriously is hilarious. And then we get on to probably one of my favorite things about this show. They made the show so meta that in the show gets picked up by Netflix. So it's not only on Netflix in the real world, but it's also on Netflix in its own world. It's very entertaining. Although this weird fact they mention is that it was originally on Vimeo. Who uploads shit to Vimeo? It's really weird. Why wouldn't they put it on YouTube? Especially considering that YouTube is referenced because Dylan Maxwell has a YouTube account. So why wouldn't they put it on YouTube? I don't get it. Anyway. You then have a sort of reaction compilation. I mean, you have people sending in videos of, hey, you should come and investigate this. They even got Trevor Noah to do a little bit, as if they'd been on the Daily Show, is it that he hosts? So that was kind of cool. It's that Peter and Sam got to go on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah, I think is his full name, which is pretty cool, especially if you're a Trevor Noah fan. But once they get through all of that, and they introduce the whole Brownout thing, one of the students reached out to them and gave them a place to stay so they could investigate. I assume they're investigating in their break, as a sort of school project. It's kind of maybe not the worst thing that this show got canceled when you think about the fact that they were going to graduate soon and the show would kind of have to go in some weird direction. So maybe the 2 epic seasons that we got were just good enough. But then we are introduced to, I guess, the main character of the documentary, Kevin McClane, who is allegedly the culprit for the Brownout, as it's called, and 2 other crimes that are not described in this episode. They are mentioned that there were 3 crimes, but they don't describe them, so we'll deal with that next week. But this episode does deal with the 2 police detectives. I think it was basically the school's like designated police officer. I believe all high schools, at least in America, have at least one cop designated to them, either from the city. My high school, it was the county sheriff's department because it wasn't in a city. Some districts have their own police departments, but anyway, there's 2 police officers interviewing all the students. People coming up with outlandish ideas about who did it, some of which have no merit. But eventually they talk to Kevin McClain with some circumstantial evidence from his alleged best friend, whose name I have forgotten. What is it? Oh, these aren't in a good order. Damn it, what's his name? Wait, maybe he's a May. I cannot find his name. Is it Tanner Bassett? Might be Tanner. It's weird that I don't remember them as well as season 1. I've seen them the same number of times, I would have thought. Anyway, his best friend accuses him because he allegedly bought laxatives. He happened to be in the part of the store where the laxatives are. He then came out with a big bag, pretty suspicious looking. And the cops, when they're interviewing him, at first he denies it, and then they take a break, and he comes back in, and suddenly he's all willing to confess. Read into that what you may. So there's some shots of that. All of this will obviously be covered in more detail in later episodes. I feel like this season has way more of a setup episode, because this is a little bit more of a complicated situation right from the beginning. So this is all just set up. There's no real interesting stuff here. But they also set up how Kevin was bullied in middle school, I believe, with a particularly mean incident. I think they were playing flag football, and he landed on the grass, and he must have hit some mud because it went up in his pants, and it just looks like he shit his pants. And then they start calling him, I think it's shit stain McClain, which is so mean, but you know how kids are, right? Why are kids so mean? I don't get it. Just we start assholes. Is that how that works? And then the post from middle school then gets shared just before the Brownout. So, that looks like Kevin. Ooh. And the kid who did that is Sondergoth. I couldn't find his first name. And I didn't hear it. But yeah, that kind of puts a pretty damning case for Kevin McClain. But at the very end, his grandmother points out that he also shit his pants, and that's the cliffhanger for this episode. That really is all I have to say. We'll, of course, be back next week with the next episode, which should uncover a few things.